Simplicity is not simple. Simplicity is, in fact, the most complex and challenging thing to design into anything. Simplicity requires first a goal, to create something simple. Simplicity requires, second, a mindset, to see the thing we are designing through the eyes of the least savvy user. Combining that goal with a mindset different from our own necessitates that we approach our thing as though we were not us, but as though we were someone else, someone less familiar with the thing than we are. And that is why simplicity is so hard. Oscar Barnack designed the early Leica interface in a manner that resulted in a streamlined, simple, and easily understood interface that still today influences the design, layout, and approach to camera feature placement used by camera makers. Very many of the basic design elements he pioneered, a small body, shutter button placement, lens placement, shutter dial placement, and, perhaps most importantly, the 35mm frame size, remain relatively unchanged now, almost a century later. Few, if any, things are better evidence of a design's genius than that the basic elements remain in use iteration after iteration, decade after decade. One thing could provide greater proof that a design's genius is, well, that genius. And that would be the volume of imitations and clones that it inspires. Throughout Russia, Japan, and America, other camera makers saw Barnack's Leica camera design and developed their own version, ranging from direct copies to slightly varied models with significant Leica inspiration. Imitation, well, you know the cliché. As I recall the history, Barnack designed the Leica camera around the 35mm film format, rather than the more common still image roll films of the day to sell it to movie studios. The aim was to allow directors of photography to take still images with their motion film stocks, using their lighting setups, to develop the film quickly and verify that the settings and look were correct before using a full film can. The camera found wider use with photographers who wanted a small, compact camera body, a simple interface, and quality images on an affordable film format. Barnack's genius shows in the way that his camera design achieved all of those goals, and today is still viewed as one of the best camera designs ever. In fact, a solid case exists that had Barnack not designed the Leica, 35mm film never would have been the most popular, most common, and most important film format ever designed. There's no real way to imagine what film photography would have been like absent Barnack, but we can be certain that photography as we recognize it today would either not exist or be fundamentally different. The Leica IIIB, especially among the entire Leica lineage, is a poem written in perfect form and cadence, a figure skater on freshly flattened ice, and the sounds of a well-tuned harp in a concert hall. Few, if any, more perfect camera designs exist than the Barnack Leica in terms of how the photographer uses it and the manner in which the design fosters creativity within us. If you never have a chance to shoot a Barnack Leica, pick up, instead, a clone. They are not quite as delicate in their shutter sound, as smooth in their operation, as precise in their interface perfection, but even the clones, if not a harp in a concert hall, are at least a piano in the living room. Simplicity is a sign of genius, and when that genius happens, some who did not think of it themselves will copy it. The Barnack Leicas were the iPhones of their day, an idea with a revolutionarily simple design that led to an entire paradigm shift and a decades-long change in approach for a global industry.